Today we're going to be varnishing an oil painting. Typically you want to wait at least 3 months to 6 months, even better, before you go to varnish your picture. If you can wait a year, I'd say even better yet. So today we're going to be using Gamblin Gamvar Satin Varnish. So typically I like to do a combination of their satin varnish along with their glossier version. I feel like for me that one creates just the right amount of gloss that I like, just a little bit. But today I just have the satin, and for me that's fine as well. It's just a really great company and a great varnish that I would say in the realism world, it's the one that I've seen that's the most highly recommended, at least that I have found. So I do encourage you to try it out. Try the satin version, try the glossier version, see which one works better for you. But I do like both quite a bit. So just a quick tip with this, make sure you shake it up really, really well. Now we're also going to be using a varnishing brush. This one's really not a very expensive one. You can get ones out there that are really expensive, really great quality, but I have found, just at least for me, because I just cannot get the varnish to come out very easily, so I like to use the slightly cheaper ones. But the main thing that you want to look for is to make sure that when you go like this, that just little hairs are not coming out, because that is just going to create a disaster when you are varnishing. So just give it a little test, make sure that there's no hairs coming out, and if there's not, you should be in good shape to varnish your picture and not have little hairs that are left around stuck into your varnish, which again just makes a big mess, so do be careful with that. And all that we're going to do is put a little bit of varnish in the center of our painting and use our brush to then push it out into all of the corners of our picture, and all that we're after is a nice even coat that's not too thick nor too thin. We want it evenly coated, but not too thick. Give it a last shake before we put it on. And here we go. That should do it. Now you don't want to scrub as you're varnishing, because then we can create bubbles. So just go really, really gently, slowly. There's no rush here. And we may need to put out a little bit more, and that's okay. And I hope that you guys can see in the video that our darks are getting darker again. That's really something that happens commonly with paintings, especially with our darks. If you can see a little bit of a difference here compared to here, this is the part over here that's not been varnished yet, and what happened there is that the oil paint has sunken in, and that's where the canvas absorbs the oil from the paint. So the varnish helps to resaturate the paint, which is why it looks darker in the spots that have been varnished. So it brings back the life of our painting. And over here we have the oil paint that's just been a little bit sunken in again into the canvas. Let's put a little bit more. And I've done the center already, so I'm just trying to take that varnish here and just kind of put it out on the corners, rather than trying to reapply it to the center again. Again, trying not to scrub too much. Another little tip for you guys as well is do make sure that you dust your paintings before you put on the varnish. Otherwise, as you are varnishing, it can turn out that you are just varnishing dust into your painting. And once it's in the varnish, it's not going to come out. So just make sure that you give it a nice dusting. You can even use a brush like this for the dusting itself. You can also use a lint-free rag. Just making sure that there is no dust is the main idea. Again, we don't want to scrub too vigorously, otherwise we create those bubbles, so just go gentle, go slow. A little bit of pressure is okay, it's not going to hurt the painting, but we don't want to scrub and create bubbles. And I also want you to notice that I am varnishing this flat. I don't want to let it dry vertically, because then I can start to get drops as they go down. So I really want to avoid letting it dry upright. I'm gonna definitely let it dry horizontally. For example, we are in the process of moving at the moment and our studio is very dusty. So I'm trying to not bring that dust into my picture. And if I let it just sit out like this, it's just going to attract all of the dust into the room. So what I'm actually going to do is put a box on top of it, which means that I can let it sit horizontally, but have protection over it so that it doesn't get dust on it. And I should only need to leave it on there for about a week or so, just as long as it's touch dry, the varnish itself, and then I can let it dry or cure a little bit more vertically. And so I'm just looking at it a little bit from the side, a little bit from the top, making sure that I don't have any globs of varnish anywhere. Just, you know, give it a look, because again, once it's dry, it's going to be hard to get that stuff out. You also want to make sure that you have nice ventilation as you are putting on your varnish. Open up a nice window, open up the door. Even when you're done, just keep it open for a little bit. Alright, I think that we are done. Oh, my last little tip as well is make sure that you've signed your painting before you varnish it as well. So give your painting that last dusting and a check to make sure that you have signed it. And that's it. That is the end of our varnishing of the picture.